Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, then you probably smell the crooked referees or Roger Goodell. Yeah, fucking like this, and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk. We up in this thing. Shout out to the fam. Appreciate you. And we got one of the best in the building, man, covering Saints, man. It's the man himself, Mr. Bob Rose from the Saints News Network. Shout out to you, my friend. Welcome on back, man. Bob, it's been far too long, my friend. Welcome back to the Coma.
Big Q, it's a pleasure to join you. You know that. I'm sorry our live got away from us there for a little bit. I know you were keeping in touch with what was going on with me. I was certainly keeping in touch on what was going on with you. I'm glad we could get together and collaborate just before the 2022 season officially begins.
Yes, sir, Bob. Man, listen, we covered the article, man, that you wrote yesterday on Saints News Network. We read it, man. It was fantastic. For the family members that didn't get a chance to watch the show or read the article, go over to the Saints News Network, si.com, Saints News Network, and check out. It's called Saints NFC, AFC, and Super Bowl Predictions. It was a thorough article. Bob did a fantastic job giving credit and giving the pluses and the minuses of all the teams, even made the predictions. Really, really good, solid article. We went through the whole damn thing. Bob, we read the whole thing, man, up until the Super Bowl prediction with the Saints and the Bengals, man. Man, that's fantastic, man. And then the really great part about it is the NFC Championship game prediction, which lines us up with the Rams, which we had some trickery and some boobery that happened several years ago, and we exacted some revenge, my friend. So I really like that one, man.
Yeah, I did too. And I mean, realistically, tell me you can't see it happening. I mean, a lot of people aren't giving the Saints their just credit, in my opinion, as far as the national media. But the Rams are defending Super Bowl champions, and in my opinion, they look every bit as good on paper this year as they did last year. So you could totally envision this, the playoff clash between the two teams. And what if you're a Saints fan, and you have been for the last couple of years, heck, if you have been, if you're an older Saints fan like myself, and you remember those old NFC West battles between New Orleans and Los Angeles, how fitting would it be for new quarterback, second-year quarterback with the system, Jameis Winston, first-year head coach Dennis Allen after replacing Sean Payton. How sweet would it be to exact just a little bit of revenge on the LA Rams, especially if you end up in your next Super Bowl because of it?
Oh yeah, to me that would be such a great treat to be able to get back at those folks, man. After that happened, because that was such an injustice for the Who Dat Nation and how it went down. But yeah, Bob, we looking forward to that, man. But let's get into some, because I wanted to talk to you, Bob, about some of the topics, man, dealing with the black and gold, man. Going into the season, I know we just coming up out of the preseason, regular season. The Saints just pretty much shaped their 53-man roster in 16-man practice squad. What are your thought process on the Saints roster, Bob? Which pluses, strengths, and weaknesses in your point?
Boy, I tell you, Sean Payton pulled some shockers on us over the years. Dennis Allen picked up that ball of electricity and ran with it, because there were some moves that I'm still scratching my head about. I thought for sure Traquan Smith was going to be off this roster. I thought for sure Zach Bond was going to be off of this roster. I thought for sure that Kirk Merritt had worked his way on, that Eric Wilson had played well enough. Now they brought back Wilson and Merritt both to the practice squad, and I have this sneaky feeling that both of those gentlemen are going to be factors some way, somehow into the Saints season. But it just, as I always say, and as I was talking to fans who were enraged at some of these moves, also, like, you know what, Mickey Loomis, Dennis Allen, his coaches, they get paid to make these decisions. You and I are certainly, it's a free country, and we're welcome to critique it. We're welcome to give our own opinion, but we aren't the professionals in that manner. So I, just like I did with Sean Payton, I trust the process. I trust Dennis Allen's decision making, and I have said for a while now, and it's reflected in my article too, the Saints, in my opinion, are one of, if not the top roster on both sides of the football when you combine that balance. There are very few pronounced weaknesses on this team. And few other teams can boast the Pro Bowl caliber talent the Saints have at so many different positions. I mean, I love this team. Obviously, there are some areas of concern, which I know we'll get into in a minute. But talent-wise, I put this team up against anyone in the National Football League.
Yeah, Bob, you're absolutely right, man. It was stunning because we looked over that roster and the cuts were made, man. And I'm sitting there looking at, Kirk Merritt definitely made the team. So did Eric Wilson. He had to make the active roster based on the fact that when Dennis Allen and most coaches say, well, you got to do this and that to make the team, and they did this and that and then some.
Right.
And then, of course, Traquan Smith, who dropped the touchdown in one of the preseason matchups. He had the pass was a little farther out and he had to adjust to get it, but we're not going, if you a wide receiver, you get your hands on the ball, we expecting you to come up with it. Of course, he didn't, and it's outside of the blocking angle. Bob is like, well, Traquan's a good blocker. I don't want to hear that. You got to do more than just block, to make the team. But some kind of way, Traquan made it. And Zach Bourne, I was surprised by that one too. Bob, he was worse than Traquan Smith. He was hurt most of the time. And when he got in there, he didn't do anything. He nearly didn't play. Eric Wilson, to me, was the second best linebacker in preseason, behind Demario Davis. He was, like, when he played next to Demario Davis for a few minutes, it made me forget that Quan Alexander wasn't here. So, I mean, what do you think about that, Bob?
And that's why the Eric Wilson release surprised me the most, even more than keeping Traquan Smith on the roster, because I was telling people about Traquan, I don't think he'll be on the team, but until he's actually cut, I won't believe it. Eric Wilson, I thought, was a slam dunk. He was playing, you made the good comparison with Quan Alexander. Now Eric and Quan are different kind of athletes, but Eric Wilson had that kind of chemistry. That we saw Demario have with Quan Alexander, and even to some extent with Pete Werner. I not only thought that Wilson was a slam dunk for the roster spot, I thought that he played well enough to maybe earn consideration to be the starter alongside Demario if Pete Werner were to get nicked up, or if the Saints were to run out three linebackers. Now, like we said at the beginning of the show, Wilson was brought back on the practice squad, which means he can be elevated at any time. I do expect that to happen. It was just an awful big gamble by this team to release Eric Wilson, have him subject to every other team the potential of signing him. Before they had the chance to re-sign him to the practice squad. That was a gamble they won, but I was nervous about it.
I was too. I was like, man, Kirk Merritt and those guys, because when you get impactful young players like that, Bob, and Eric Wilson's a 6-year veteran, man. He's been around the block. His energy, when Eric Wilson gets up there and speaks, his energy puts me in the mind that bright-eyed, bushy-tailed energy reminds me of Cam Jordan a lot. So I'm like, I call him Little Cam, because of his energy, man. He's just fun to listen to talk about the game. But Bob, you're right. They're back on the practice squad, and I agree with you. The fact that at some point they'll be elevated to the active roster. They're too impactful. as young players not to, and the guys that you have there are not. So eventually it'll balance itself out in my thought process. But let's move a little further down the line. You mentioned some of those things in terms of the Saints with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Let's talk about that one, Bob. Chauncey gets traded. The Saints are negotiating with Chauncey. Then, of course, the reports indicated there were $4 million apart. And then next thing you know, the Saints sent him to the Philadelphia Eagles for a 5th and 6th round pick in 2 separate drafts. So what are your thought process on Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's trade, and of course, then his replacement?
I know the trade surprised a lot of people, but Q, it didn't surprise me.
It was coming out, Bob, because of Lante?
Yeah, a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't have predicted it, but it didn't surprise me because Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was coming into a contract year. As we know, as you just mentioned, they drafted Alontae Taylor. They have so much depth in that secondary to begin with. Right. And we'd already heard some rumors that Gardner-Johnson's name was being thrown about in a possible trade scenario that involved Deshaun Watson. Is something that did not sit with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson well at all. That's true. He did not handle, by all reports and all indications, he did not handle his contract negotiation, with the team well. We were hearing after the fact, I think he sat out one day of practice, and then he came back. But he was, and I apologize if I'm about to offend any current generation people. But this must be a Gen Z thing. He was holding in, and it always cracked me up. If you don't, you certainly have the right to not like what you're getting paid or not like whatever's going on at your current job. But to combat that, you choose to do your job worse. Yep. Or take half measures through your job. Yeah. I mean, how is that supposed to fix anything? We were hearing things like, he was half stepping it. That's not the word I want to use, but half stepping it in practice, yelling at coaches. Yeah, listen, coaches don't have anything to do with contract negotiations, Mr. Seedy Deuce. Your teammates don't have anything to do with contract negotiations. I'm not going to go as far as call him a locker room cancer, but that personality of his, that edgy personality that so many fans loved, but as a teammate, if you have that kind of personality in your locker room, and I've dealt with them, they can turn in an instant, and that could turn the entire culture of your locker room. I believe that there were 2 things that caused the Saints to finally make the decision, we're going to move Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. It was that personality was going to turn, and again, it wasn't going to poison the whole locker room. But once you have a little ripple of disruption, just like the wave in an ocean, that thing can grow bigger and bigger and bigger. So why take that chance? We had just gotten word just a handful of days before that Marcus Maye's DUI hearing had been pushed back to now late November. Right. So that decreases the chances that Marcus Maye is going to be suspended during the 2022 season. It's coming, folks. Don't kid yourself. Right. But just like with the Kamara situation, the likelihood of Marcus Maye getting suspended during this season has now significantly decreased. Now, that was before he screwed up and got himself arrested the day after they traded Gardner-Johnson. But that's another story for another time. So, you look at Maye's going to be around for the beginning of the season. Gardner-Johnson is causing problems against teammates, against coaches on the field. Now, this is a problem that's gone from the meeting rooms and the boardrooms onto the field. You have Maye available, and you have so much other talent in that secondary. It was time to move Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And I think it's very telling. I hated the compensation we got back to. As a player, he's worth so much more. But consider this, Saints fans. New Orleans just traded a top-tier defensive back to a fellow playoff contender in the conference who's on your schedule for 2 day 3 draft picks, and not even in the same draft, like you said. You know what that tells me? That tells me there was not a great market for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. You typically like to move players. You definitely don't want to trade them in the division. You want to avoid trading them in the conference if you can help it. And you definitely want to avoid playing them on your next year's schedule if you can at all help it.
Right.
All of those boxes just got checked off. So yeah, and again, for far lower compensation than you would think a player like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson would be worth. That tells me that there just wasn't a lot of takers for his talent. Probably looking at the contract demands and the possibility that even Philadelphia, since they're the ones that have him now, that they're only getting a 1-year rental player. There wasn't a big market for him. And the Saints.
That's really surprising, Bob. I mean, I want you to finish talking, man, but I'm just saying that's really surprising for a guy as talented as CD Deuce, that nobody would want to jump in there and say, man, well, that's what you want for him. I'll give you a 4. They wanted to give you a 5 and a 6. Hell, I'll give you a 4 for Chauncey. That's really surprising that out of the 30-something odd teams, none of them stepped to the forefront. But go ahead and finish your thought, my friend.
I know, and I was going to expound on exactly the point you just brought up. Gardner-Johnson himself was a 4th-round pick. He was projected to be a 2nd-round pick, 3rd round at the latest coming out of the draft. Ironically, and I remember doing a whole lot of research on a draft piece I did for him coming out of Florida, because I've always been a fan of him as a player. I was hearing a lot of character concerns, locker room issues, things like that, and that's ultimately what dropped him. It had nothing to do with performance on the field. Could we see some of that personality that caused him to drop in the draft kind of morphing itself now with the New Orleans Saints? He's gotten into numerous fights in practice. If you're a teammate and you can get under the skin of Michael Thomas and force him to take swings at you, there's something going on there. Yeah, there's something going on there. I think it was very telling. We did not see too many New Orleans Saints players speak up after Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was traded, saying, that this was a bad move by the organization, no loyalty.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that goes back to how much of a market was there really for him? Players talk, coaches talk, general managers talk. Was word about this kind of behavior getting around, and other teams were saying, he's talented, but I don't want any parts of this. I don't want to trade for him and then not reach a contract negotiation, and his attitude somehow short circuits our season, poisons our locker room, whatever the case may be. And the Saints have one of the stronger locker room character veins in the NFL. And if Mickey Loomis and Dennis Allen didn't want that kind of disturbance, weaker locker rooms sure as heck wouldn't want it in theirs either.
Yeah, Bob, that's pretty, man. That's I don't know where to start, though, bro. That's a lot of great information. Listen, the point about the people stepping up and saying such and such about Chauncey, the only thing I remember that happened in that time frame was Tyrann Mathieu's cryptic tweet, if you remember. He did say something, but I hadn't heard anything else about the situation. We preferenced it on the Sports Coma in the Great Saint Think Tank, Bob. We were saying that he could have took a different route to get his paper. Like, for instance, Eric McCoy is in the same situation. Eric McCoy has 1 year left on his contract. You don't hear Eric McCoy barking up, I'm going to force you to the table. The Saints elected early on to not deal with the contract situation. My thing is this, and one of the Great Saint Think Tank family members said this last night, What's Up Boom, who has a stream. He was saying that Chauncey, that was Brother Pat Rich, I'm sorry. He was saying that if Chauncey was able to play out the rest of his season, Bob, and go into next year when the elevated money comes in, he could have banked out, and probably got a lot more than what he's trying to get from these guys. Now, I heard with Philly saying they're going to try to convert him to a safety and all that kind of stuff. We'll see how that goes, but it's not the Eric McCoy approach, and the Saints don't really don't like you to force them into a situation when you're supposed to honor your agreement. So I was like, we're gonna see how they handle this, because I know they don't like that, and we see what happens. They moved them up out of here. Now, Bob, let me ask you this: you got any other points you want to say to that, my friend, or before we talk about his replacement? Actually, you look at onto the field. You mentioned Eric McCoy. They also got Marcus Davenport that they love, and I think they're going to try to make a real run at trying to keep him. Okay. If Jameis Winston plays well,
don't think for 1 second that you're not going to have to give him a hefty raise in 2023. I know Jameis is under contract, but you don't want to play around with the last year of that deal.
Right.
There were just too many finances that the Saints had to look at. And if you're Dennis Allen or you're Mickey Loomis, look at it this way. Would you rather keep – and I love CD Deuce as a player. Again, I always have. But would you rather – if you could only keep one, would you rather keep Eric McCoy or CD Deuce?
McCoy.
Me too.
Yeah.
If you could only keep one and he was healthy, would you rather keep Marcus Davenport or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson?
If he's healthy, Davenport.
Yep. If you could only keep one, would you rather keep Jameis Winston or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson?
Jameis.
Yeah, my answer is the same to all three. I think that's what the Saints were looking at, especially when you have so much talent back in that secondary. And that's going to segue into your next question. So I'll turn the mic back over. I'll shut up.
No, Bob. Listen, that's great points, and also Jarvis Landry.
Yep.
How about the 1-year contract we got for Jarvis on a $6 million deal? Man, he balls out, which I'm anticipating he's going to have a solid season. Why would he not want to do it again in a multiple role with the black and gold heading into the season? So, that's great points. But, the replacement for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I've heard, Roby bantered about Alontae Taylor was taken in the second round. We knew that kind of got CD Deuce eyes a bucket a bit. When we seen that happen, it's like, whoa, where's he? Well, he's not going to play Lattimore because Lattimore got his money. Paulson Adebo is in the second year of his contract. We just signed 2 safeties in Maye and Matthew for $3 million apiece. 3 years each. So you got one position and it's his, and he kind of seen that going on. He knew what time it was. But speak to that, Bob. Who do you think would probably be the best replacement for the slot position?
We're going to see Roby get the shot at that first, and Bradley played really well in the preseason. Now I'm a little bit worried about the health of Paulson Adebo. We're hearing conflicting reports. That his foot, his ankle, is a little bit more problematic than what was originally thought. So we'll wait and watch and see how that plays out. But assuming Paulson Adebo is healthy, Bradley Roby is going to get the next most snaps out of that secondary. He's going to be your de facto nickelback. And as we know with Roby, he's still playing at a high level. He is an experienced starter that could still probably be the number 2 cornerback on most teams in the NFL. So Bradley Roby is going to be the fifth defensive back, the de facto nickelback. And then you look at the versatility too. You mentioned Marcus Maye, you mentioned Tyrann Mathieu. Both of those guys are more than capable of playing the slot. That's what gives them, I believe Maye and Mathieu are athletic and versatility upgrades over Marcus Williams and Malcolm Jenkins last year, because you could do more with both of those players than you could with Malcolm or Marcus. So you could see Maye cover the slot. You could see Tyrann Mathieu cover the slot. We know PJ Williams can come in and cover the slot, at least as an off-ball guy. He's not a guy I want to see in man coverage or bump coverage, but he'll give you a capable slot option. Justin Evans, who we saw absolutely ball out in the preseason. I don't think they're looking at Justin for the slot, but if you want to move Honey Badger or you want to move Maye into the slot, you can bring Justin Williams in and plug him into either one of those deep safety spots. There is still, and we didn't even mention Alontae Taylor yet. Like you said, they drafted Taylor, with the eye of taking that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson role, not a pure safety, not necessarily an outside boundary corner, because again, like you said, you already got Lattimore, you already got Adebo. They think very, very highly of Alontae Taylor. They wouldn't have made this move if they didn't. So you still have, we just mentioned 7 defensive backs, that are interchangeable, that are starting quality, cornerbacks or safeties. There's still an awful lot of talent back there. If you were going to move a player like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, now is the perfect time to do it. Alontae Taylor, man, he was speaking about his playing the cornerback position, or the fact that he needs to gain more experience doing that. But there's such a thing like baptism by fire. In many cases, I think eventually, I know Roby makes the most sense right now because he's a veteran.
And last year he didn't look so good, but then again, he didn't have a full camp. This time around, he's coming into it with a full camp. So yeah, he definitely looks more comfortable in the Saints secondary. Let me ask you about now. Since we still in the vein of the secondary, the Marcus Maye situation, Bob. What do you think about the current situation about that? It's kind of I've seen the reports and I was reading up on this on some stuff, and I know he got the DUI stuff that's coming from the luggage, that baggage that's coming with him from the jet situation. What do you think about the latest situation with Marcus Maye?
Q, it concerns the heck out of me. It does. The timing of it is, couldn't be worse. Could not be worse. You just dealt Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and then you go and screw up like that. And I'm not pointing the full guilty finger at him. I will let the legal process play itself out. Right. But men, people, you cannot put yourself in that situation, especially when you have the notoriety of a professional athlete. Anybody, and I know I'm jumping on a soapbox here. Lord knows, folks, I've made my mistakes, more than my fair share, and my fair share that I'd never want to share in a public forum. But I'm talking to you now through failed experience. You cannot put yourself in that position. You cannot put yourself in those kind of situations. Whether he put, Marcus Maye, for those of you that don't know, was accused of attempted assault with a deadly weapon. Basically, the story I know of alleges that he pointed a gun from a car at a car, and I'm hearing that it was full of mostly teenage girls. Basically, a road rage incident. I'm not going to pretend to know any more than that. Marcus Maye and his legal representation have said, they've not called themselves innocent, but they have said there's more to the story than this, and it will come out. We have confidence that our client will be exonerated. Okay, I hope so. I hope so if he's innocent. If he's guilty, I don't care if he's a New Orleans Saint or not. If he's guilty, you cannot do that in society. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you play for. Don't care whether you're male, female, what color. I don't care. You don't do that. So I'm hoping for the sake of the team and for the sake of Marcus Maye. He's still a young kid. He's 28, 29 years old. I hope that this is just some kind of overblown situation, but there's a track record here. You mentioned the DUI. While his license was on suspension for the DUI, he was pulled over again for driving with a suspended license, DUI related. Which is also something that's going to be played out in court. The young man is obviously making some poor choices right now. I hope that he gets his life straightened out. But as someone who covers and is a fan of the New Orleans Saints, it concerns me from a schematic standpoint. You cannot lose your players in situations like that. Injuries are bad enough, but injuries are in God's control, as they say. This is something that's in Marcus Maye's control. The Alvin Kamara situation is something that's in Alvin Kamara's control. You get yourself into a legal situation, and I'm not going to call it guilty or innocent again. You get yourself into a situation where you could walk out of that room or could walk out of your car in handcuffs. You've made a poor choice. These guys got to make better choices. They have not only themselves and their families to think about. You have a team. You have 52 other members, not to mention coaches and assistant coaches that are counting on you to be there and perform. You cannot make poor choices, poor decisions, have a trickle down effect. And you know what they say about the SH blank blank T, how it rolls downhill. Yes. Marcus Maye cannot make decisions like this that adversely affects his team. I'm really concerned about his decision making.
I'm hopefully, he said, like you said, Bob, that was the paragraph so I read from the statement released by his attorney, that he is going to fight this thing, and then the real information is going to come out. But the decision making, that is something that we got to watch out for, and we got to watch out for that, man. So I don't know how it's going to play out, but we, like you said, eventually he will get disciplined for the DUI that he did. So, this is just one more thing But okay, let's move on, Bob. Thanks for that, man. That was good information as well, Bob. And for the family members, y'all know who this man is. Bob Rose, man. Saints News Network is in the building. Shout out to him. Shout out to the whole family over there. Brother Kyle T. Mosley and the rest. They do really great work, man. Y'all know I always cover the articles here on the Sports Coma because they are one of the best doing it, man. I just keep it a buck with you. But also, let's move on, Bob. We talk about you mentioned some great points. Let's get into concerns you have outside of the previous concerns we just talked about for the Saints moving forward. The defense is probably one of the most solid units of the team right now. We know the special teams have gained a lot with the Will Lutz getting healthy. I know we could have won several games last year if Will Lutz was healthy. Just the Texans game, the Titans game, excuse me, that comes to mind with the shabby kicking we was having. We had that rotisserie wheel of crappy kickers that was coming before we had a decent one that kind of, helped us. But boy, losing Will Lutz, Bob, that really hurt for at least for most of the couple of games last year. So, but outside of that, and with Jameis on top of the offense, what weakness? I know we're pretty solid. I want you to talk about the strengths after the weaknesses. But what one thing you want to see corrected in the Saints in terms of the team overall? Do you see anything that concerns you?
When I look at this team, and injuries are always going to be your number one concern, and we saw how injuries derailed this team's season last year. So let's assume that's going to be everybody's top concern. My next biggest concern is going to surprise some people, and it's actually the safety position. And it doesn't have anything to do with It was my concern before Chauncey Gardner-Johnson got traded. It was my concern before Marcus Maye got himself in trouble again. Here's why. Again, like we said before, you're replacing both of your starting safeties. Marcus Williams, Malcolm Jenkins are gone. I believe that Marcus Maye and Tyrann Mathieu are upgrades over them, at least his combined abilities. Right. But here's my concern: when you replace a position like that, and Kyle T. Mosley and I just interviewed Solomon Wilcots, a former NFL safety, the other day, and he backed up. Solomon. I was hoping he'd alleviate my concerns and tell me, Bob, you're crazy. No, he made them worse. He said, absolutely, it's a concern. Communication is going to be an early season issue with these guys. Yeah. One of the things that make Marshawn Lattimore and Paulson Adebo, and before that Janoris Jenkins, so successful is they could be extremely aggressive on those underneath routes because they knew they had the safeties watching their back. They knew they had deep support. They knew that those guys back there, Malcolm Jenkins and Marcus Williams, they knew each other's movements well, just because of rep after rep after rep in practice. Well, they don't have these kind of reps. They don't have this kind of chemistry yet with Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus Maye. I believe that this ultimately has the potential to be the best Saints defensive backfield from top to bottom, from front to back in the history of the franchise. Right. But I'm worried that there are going to be some early season hiccups because these guys didn't play together enough in the preseason. That's not what preseason is. It's not what you see in training camp anymore. You see coaches give the veterans more rest than what I grew up watching. With the two-a-days and the Oklahoma drills and all kinds of things like that. And it's to keep the players' bodies healthy. I understand it, but as a result, if you have a bunch of newcomers to your team, to a position or to a position group, like we see with the safeties, there's going to be some speed bumps. And you look at who you have early in the season. You got Tom Brady and those receivers coming at you in week 2. You got DJ Moore of the Panthers in week 3. I think Kirk Cousins is one of the biggest chokers on the face of the earth. But he puts up numbers against the Saints. And you got Irv Smith Jr., Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson coming at you in week 4. This team, this secondary, is going to have to get it together very quickly. They're going to be tested early. They're going to be tested often. Again, I'm not disrespecting the players at the position. I'm just saying the communication and the chemistry are two things I'm going to be watching very closely in the Saints secondary to open the regular season.
Yeah, Bob, that's a great point, man. And the safety, the communication angle between them and how fast they gel back there. I know we had Tyrann Mathieu. He has a high football IQ, and to a degree, Marcus Maye is pretty intelligent too on field. You know, so I mean, some of these other decisions, I don't know. But on field, he does play well. So for them to gel and get it together, man, that is imperative. That'll definitely be imperative to the success of the Saints overall. But you know, yeah, it'll be fun watching them get that thing together, man. Bob, let me ask you about this. You made reference of it. That's one of the I guess your concerns. One of my concerns, Bob, is the offensive line in particular. The depth obviously concerns me. The depth situation. I ain't like how some of our backup offensive linemen play. So hopefully our starters stay healthy. But how do you feel about Hurst, James Hurst? Do you think James Hurst is an offensive tackle that should be a blindside tackle? We know some of his deficiencies in terms of him having issues against speedy pass rushers. Do you think James Hurst for a full season could protect Jameis, who's coming off injury? That's a hot topic here in the sports coma. But how do you feel about that, Bob?
As it should be a hot topic. Obviously, the Saints wanted to do something to upgrade that position after Teron Armstead left. That's why they drafted Trevor Penning.
Right.
But we know what's going on with Penning. We're not going to beat that dead horse. We just hope that young man comes back as soon as possible and comes back healthy. But yeah, James Hurst, I believe, is a capable left tackle. Yes. Is he top tier? No. Is he a Pro Bowler? No. Frankly, I think Hurst is a much better suited for guard than he is tackle.
Right.
If it were me, I'd have traded Cesar Ruiz in the offseason, moved Hurst to right guard, and still drafted Trevor Penning. But again, that's why Dennis Allen gets paid to make these decisions. Right. I think that they will be all right with Hurst there. We're going to have to be, because that's your best option right now. If something, God forbid, and knock on wood, happens to Ryan Ramczyk or James Hurst at this point, you got Landon Young as your backup, and coaches love Landon Young, and I can see why. The kid's got good footwork, but he's wildly inconsistent. He needs a lot of developing to do. Outside of that, your options at tackle would be either Lewis Kidd, an undrafted rookie, or you move Andrus Peat back out to tackle. And we've seen that experiment in the past. It's worked for a couple games, but for a long stretch, absolutely not. So James Hurst is the best option for this team right now. If we've also seen Hurst play pretty well at right tackle. So if he struggles at left tackle, you can shuffle a little bit. You can move Ryan Ramczyk over to the left side where he played in college, and move Hurst over to the right side. But you want to watch doing that, because the more you shuffle positions, the more you're messing around with the continuity of that offensive line. And that's one of the things that has made this line so strong up until last year, was the fact that these guys had played together for so long, got those reps together, knew what each other, you knew what your left flank was doing, you knew what your right flank was doing, and you could do what you do and help them out in the process. You mess around with the continuity, you lose some of that. I feel good about James Hurst there. There are worse players to have at that position. We've seen the Saints try out worse players at the left tackle spot. Is he the ideal answer? No, but there are far bigger worries on this team. Trust me.
Yeah, I agree. I see what you're saying there, Bob. The James Hurst thing, he was basically a placeholder until Penning was gained enough game rep to be able to take the job from him and will hold it for a lifetime. He definitely has the athletic ability and the strength. And when he got shut down, Bob, and got kicked out of practice, it shifted, man. And his gameplay he actually improved, man. He looked a lot better. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna see how he deals with that. And he actually dealt with it pretty good. So I mean, I know it's only a matter of time before Penning takes over that tackle position. And you're right about shuffling as much as and upsetting the continuity of the offensive line when you're starting the season. I guess if you wanted to do that, would be something that you try to work on in the offseason if you had to shift them like that. Me personally, I think that Ramczyk, our money tackle, should be guarding Jameis's blind side. That's just my thought process on it, because I think Ram can handle it. He's played, like you said, he played there in college. But I guess that would you're right on the point that doing it right now would definitely upset some chemistry issues right there. But but Cesar Ruiz was another question I had about him, but he looks better. Andrus is looking solid. McCoy is McCoy. But moving forward, my friend, strengths. Talk to me about strengths, Bob. What you like about this team, man, that the detractors don't like?
Alvin Kamara is the best offensive weapon in the league. And yeah, he's one of the few Saints players that do get national recognition. But I don't think he gets enough. I don't think he gets enough for what he can do on a football field. The national pundits, national media talk about him as being one of the top ranked running backs. Okay, as a runner, yeah. At versatility wise, what he can do to opposing defenses, there is no other back in the NFL, none, that can do as many things to a defense as what Alvin Kamara can.
Right.
And I think especially early in the season, when Mark Ingram still has fresh legs, once Taysom Hill is healthy, and that's still a question mark right now. If Tony Jones can look like he did in the preseason instead of looking like he did last regular season. In other words, if the Saints can provide a bona fide threat running the ball out of the backfield other than Alvin Kamara, you're going to see him, AK-41, you're going to see him used a lot more as a receiver than he was last year. Similar to what we saw in 2018, 2019, 2020. The guy that's going to pull in 80 catches, go for 700-800 yards receiving. That's what taxes a defense. It's that kind of versatility that spreads them sideline to sideline. And now, boom, you have a strong arm quarterback in Jameis Winston that can hit the downfield ball to Deontay Hardy, hit the downfield ball to Chris Olave. I know when you asked me about strengths, a lot of people were probably assuming I'd say the receiver position.
Yeah.
On paper, it is. But yeah, you got to show me something. Mike Thomas, Olave, Landry, none of those guys had played with Jameis Winston when the snaps really count yet. From what I saw of them during training camp, and what we all saw in that first drive against the Chargers, that group looks ready to go, and I know it's going to be a solid combination. I expect Jameis to hover around 5,000 yards passing this season.
Yeah, me too.
Mike Thomas is going to come back like a beast. That he's just dealing with a tweaked hamstring, folks. They're just being cautious with him. You don't want a hamstring. Hamstring's an injury that can affect a running back, wide receiver, cornerback all year long if you don't take care of it. He's just resting. Jarvis Landry is going to put up the numbers. Chris Olave, who is my guy coming out of the draft, has been since last November. He is going to put up some monstrous numbers in this offense. I think the diversity of this offense is, again, a strength. It's something that we didn't see last year because of the lack of weapons. And they were sunk when Jameis Winston went down and they had all those injuries up front. As long as they stay, knock on wood, as long as they stay healthy up front, and again, all the key people stay healthy, the diversity of this offense, how many different ways they can attack you. This is not going to be a Drew Brees-led offense. It's going to be more of a downfield attack, going to have less precision and less timing than what Drew operated with, but we're going to see more big plays, more shots, more athleticism out of the quarterback position. That's what I'm looking for offensively.
Yeah, that's an attractive brand of ball there, Bob, to be honest with you, when the Saints can be able to attack the defenses downfield, stretching them out, and they can be able to operate however they see fit. So, yeah, I agree absolutely, man, with that. And I was talking about Alvin Kamara. I was like, these people ranked Alvin Kamara at 51 on that ranking. And I was like, and then they had other young running backs there. I was like, now Alvin Kamara, he is, to me, he's the best back, if not one of the top two best backs in the business. You can't put all these other young guys over there. Okay, one of these young guys had a good year, but that was 1 year. You do it as long as he's done it before you kind of bump him out of the way. So I think totally, guys, you mentioned the stalwarts of the club. Mike Thomas is being disrespected constantly.
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara is they're just totally omitting Alvin Kamara like he's chopped liver. And then the Jameis Winston thing. I mean, it's just repugnant. You look at Jarvis Landry, Tyrann Mathieu. I say this often, Bob, on the show. You add Tyrann Mathieu and Jarvis Landry to your football team. Those people are talking about, that team's going to the Super Bowl, but not the Saints. They would give them to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yep.
They will say they're a Super Bowl contender, or any other these teams. So, Bob, let's move into that. Let's talk about that. What do you think about the national disrespect of Jameis Winston and the New Orleans Saints? How do you feel about that?
Q, you used the word repugnant a second ago. I think
Yes.
that's a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah.
You use the example of Jarvis, what the addition of Jarvis Landry or Tyrann Mathieu would mean in the national eyes to any other team and what it's meant to the Saints. You're right on target. You look at a player like Michael Thomas, who hasn't played most of 2020 and all of 2021, being disrespected, overlooked among the best wide receivers. Yet Christian McCaffrey, who missed all of 2021 and most of 2020, he's still ranked among the top running back threats, above Alvin Kamara. I'm like, okay. And I've said it again and again and again. If you take the fleur-de-lis off these guys' helmet, you take the fleur-de-lis off Demario Davis's helmet, people would want to put him in the Hall of Fame now. You take the fleur-de-lis off Cam Jordan's helmet, people would talk about him among the best pass rushers of all time.
Yep.
Same with Alvin Kamara, same with Michael Thomas, same with Ryan Ramczyk. Ryan Ramczyk never gets mentioned among the league's best tackles.
That's insane.
It is, and we could go on and on and on. And people like to, the national media likes to. I've seen a lot of national media saying that the Saints are even going to have a losing record this year, double-digit losses, and it starts with Jameis Winston. Look, I get the concern about Winston, about the turnovers, about the decisions, the poor decisions on the field, the baffling decisions on the field. I've seen a Jameis Winston that's grown a lot as a person and a football player in the last really 3 years. Like his last year in Tampa, I noticed it. Bruce Arians and his teammates noticed it and would comment to it. I think Jameis Winston would have been the Tampa Bay quarterback in 2020 if they couldn't have gotten Tom Brady. If you have the choice between Tom Brady and Jameis Winston, you're going to take Tom Brady. Let's be realistic here. But the Saints have a potential gold mine in Jameis Winston. He showed the world that he could operate this offense, a limited offense, one without Michael Thomas, one without a healthy offensive line, and one without wide receivers to really step up and give you a solid, consistent threat.
Mm-hmm.
And we still saw him avoid turnover. He threw for 14 touchdowns, ran for another, and threw only 3 interceptions and fumbled the ball once. That's a drastic improvement over the poor teams that he played for in Tampa Bay. I'm convinced that was a young kid that was trying to do too much. The decision making is on him. The turnovers, they're on him. But you have to point the finger. If you're an outsider, you have to point the finger to the talent around you too. Jameis Winston now has a different team around him. He knows he doesn't have to do it by himself. And most importantly, he is coming into the 3rd year of Pete Carmichael's offense. This is a system that he now knows. He's going to be able to react on instinct rather than thought process, which I thought was part of the problem last year. He took a lot of sacks last year because he was afraid to turn the ball over. I think we're going to see a Jameis Winston that's going to be a lot more confident in just cutting it loose this year. We're going to see a lot more rhythm out of this Saints offense than we did in 2021.
Yeah, Bob, I was listening to some interviews that Cam Jordan and Mark Ingram did on ESPN, man, and they were in the way Cam was talking and when Mark was talking, man, they have major aspirations to have a deep playoff run. You can tell, and the constant disrespect of putting the Buccaneers ahead of the Saints, even though the Saints really ruffled Tom Brady's feathers by tearing up the interior of the inside that offensive line, and they have all those injuries situated right there in that side. I mean, it's not going to be a good look at all for Tampa Bay, but they put him up there, and I say, listen, he's a lightning rod. Let him be the lightning rod while we soar right up under there, and we're gonna give him something to cheer for this year in the Who Dat Nation. So. Hey, Bob, look, man, listen, I won't hold you on, my friend, and I appreciate you stopping by. My friend, any last thoughts, Brother Bob, from the Saints News Network family, please feel free to check out Brother Bob's articles at Saints News Network. Put it in the Google box and search Saints News Network. And and look up Bob and Kyle T and the rest of the family over there. They got some of the good stuff going on over there, man. They got great stuff. But Bob, the floor is yours, my friend.
Well, I appreciate the plug. Thank you so much. And we do our own podcast, not to compete with you or anything like that, but we run the Bayou Blitz every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Central Time. That was a show Kyle Mosley and I did on a regular basis. For the previous couple of years, for life reasons, we taken most of the last year off, but we rolled it back out. We rolled it back out about a month ago, and we're looking forward to trying to give you guys a great product, and another avenue for Saints information. But yeah, indeed, if you do already follow us at the Saints News Network, I thank you and love you so much for it. Our appreciation is unending. If you don't follow us, give us a try. Because we're pretty open to criticism, new ideas, critiques, things like that. We're trying to give you the best product and the best knowledge that we can. And we're a fan friendly site. Just like your show, Q. You put on a great product, and I appreciate what you do. Fans, you need to appreciate what this man does for you.
Thank you, Bob. Set right back at you, my friend. The Bayou Blitz podcast with Kyle T. Mosley and brother Bob Rose, man. They're in the building, man. Check them out. Go over there and subscribe to their YouTube channel, family, and put them on the list. A lot of the family members listen, but if you hadn't subscribed, family, put them on the list and add them to the fam, man. They got great information over there, and they really good people, man. So, Bob, once again, thank you for joining me. Bob, don't be a stranger, Bob. I know I'm talking to myself on that because that ain't on you, that's on me. But I'm gonna make sure, my friend, I'm gonna get you to pop in. At least try to get you to pop in at least once a month, Bob. Just kind of pop in there because I know you're gonna be busy during the season. So, just pop in and share your thoughts on the Saints and how they're doing during the season, or if you just want to just talk a word or two.
Yeah, I'd love to. And, I'm talking to myself when I say this too, but, you don't be a stranger either. It's always great to hear from you. It's an absolute honor. When you ask me to help you out with your show, I am truly humbled and privileged, to be your friend. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate you, my man. And y'all, appreciate y'all for joining me for today's stream. I hope y'all learned a lot. I learned a lot, man. There was a lot of good information here that Bob was dropping on us, man, as well. And for the Who Dat Nation, man, it's just one big family. So with that being said, hit the like button, family. Hit the subscribe button. Feel free to share the show on your social media. And we're going to holler at y'all later. Thank you. And Who Dat?
Yeah. Like Benson, I'm a Who Dat. I'm a Who Dat. Long as I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a Who Dat. I'm a Who Dat. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your chain for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, then you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, running like this, and I'm a Who Dat. Every day I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this, and I'm a Who Dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
out the Pro Shop. That's right, the Pro Shop is the platform store where you can go and buy all the latest merch to support the platform. Available at the Pro Shops, we have dozens of hundreds of products available for you and your family. Unisex tees for men and women, hoodies and sweatshirts, tank tops, kids and baby items, long sleeve tees, mugs, pillows, wall art, bath bedding, face masks, phone cases, stickers, bags, fanny packs, socks, hats, and many other items. Please feel free to check out the Pro Shops. The link is in the description section below. And remember, it helps the platform continue to grow. So check out the Pro Shop and Who That too.
TheWhoThatDaily.com. That's right, TheWhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who That and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, TheWhoThatDaily.com is your site. TheWhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who That in all of us.